everyone. Welcome to Conversations with Sekani, a podcast for people in their 20s who are trying to figure out life and not get lost along the way. Today's guest is Lexie Faith Dopp, founder of LEFA Collective, a journal company designed to put powerful emotional healing tools directly into people's hands. What began as a personal coping tool during one of the hardest seasons of our life became a platform that now helps thousands of women navigate grief, self worth, and emotional overwhelm with clarity and compassion through thoughtful design journals filled with transformative prompts, affirmations, and space to process life honestly. Lexi is making therapy tools more accessible for everyday life. Lexi Faith, welcome to Conversations with Sekani. It's a pleasure to have you here.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
All right, so yeah, I want to start from the origin story. Lexi, you started journaling as like something creative for you. So what made it become something essential?
So I started journaling when I was really young. I think every Christmas, my grandma would give me and my cousins a new diary for Christmas or for birthdays. And you always start a fresh diary or a fresh journal with the best intentions to journal every day. And you're gonna, write down all the important things, whether it's for you to remember or for your children or like your great granddaughter or something. And then you forget about it. And then you pick it up again 6 months later and you feel bad that I'm so sorry I didn't write, like writing to this journal, like you offended them. And so that was kind of my experience with the journaling until my early 20s. I got married to my high school sweetheart and we ended up getting divorced. And it just was so heartbreaking for me. And it was my first real big loss. I'd been disappointed. I've dealt with grief in my life in little ways, being part of the disability community because I have a brother with autism. And but this was just such a profound loss for me. And my one of my cousins brought over a gift, and it was a bereavement journal for someone to journal their feelings after someone had died. And she's like, she had worked at a hospital, and she's like, this is always in the gift shop. And I know it's a little weird, but in so many ways, you're going through a death. It's the death of the life I once knew, the family I was building with this person. And she's like, if it doesn't resonate, it's fine. But if it does, maybe it will help you. And it was so wild because I journaled in that. And for the first time in like 2 weeks after I was done journaling, I was able to sleep. I had been like pulling all-nighters, so sad, so full of grief, crying myself to sleep. And after journaling that first page, I felt so much anger and grief leave my body that I was able to fall asleep. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's something to this. So that was
Mm,
kind of my first experience with journaling that I noticed. I'm like, okay, this is how you're supposed to do it, Not supposed to, because writing is such a beautiful art as well as a way to express yourself. And so it was just, I had found something that worked for me as a mental health tool.
all right, wow. Okay, recently I also just found out about journaling. And
Yes.
it's amazing because I'm not even going to lie. I tried it today and I felt relieved of some sort of like, I don't know if I should say feelings like burdens or something, but the moment I wrote down how I was feeling, I felt a bit of relief in that. So in a way I could relate to what you're saying, right? But I want us to talk about, writing as healing. You stopped filtering your writing, so why is unfiltered expression so powerful?
I think, especially when writing in a private setting, in a journal that's only for you or pages that only you're going to look at, there's a real authenticity and naked vulnerability when you can shut off the filter and be like, okay, no one's going to read this. This isn't to prove that I'm perfect to my great great granddaughter and inspire her to be like me. That's not what this is. This is just for me to like write how I'm actually feeling, whether it's like, I hate this person, or this thing was so mean, or why do I keep thinking these mean thoughts about someone? Like, just things that you don't want everyone to know. If you can be honest and write those things down, it really helps you get self-aware because in my experience, I have a lot of anxiety and I can spiral. And like I call it the hamster wheel, where I have this one thought and that triggers another thought. And then all of a sudden, the world is ending, or like my someone's gonna die, or I just spiral into these things that are so far from the truth and what's actually happening in reality that being able to journal that, I can write my spiral paragraph and then take a step back and be like, girl, okay, this is not happening. This is not true. And it just gives you perspective. And I think that can be really healing to be like, I'm validating myself here and I'm checking myself here, and you need to be accountable here. It just is a really amazing tool to get clarity, to get accountable, to get curious. So if you can drop that filter where you're trying to be perfect or trying to be maybe like something you're not. I'm all for faking it till you make it, but you don't need to do that in your journal.
All right, wow. Okay, so talking about journaling, right? It's actually a really good tool, but then some people like when they journal, they don't feel relief. So what makes like therapeutic journaling different, actually?
So in our journals, they're guided journals. And so
Mm,
each page has a prompt or a list or a worksheet. And for people who haven't like found that sweet spot yet, I recommend them just opening a guided journal and flipping through the pages until you read a prompt that pulls at your heartstrings. Because maybe, that gratitude list that you're writing every morning, it's not quite like scratching the itch that you're looking for. Maybe you need something else to kind of start warming up, you know, those
yeah.
feelings inside. And so if you can, any journal, any prompts, I know we all have a million journal prompts pinned on our Pinterests that go there to die. If you can go look at those and read one that like lights your heart on fire a little bit, that either triggers you or makes you start spiraling those thoughts, that's the one you need to go for and try writing based on that prompt. Or if you hear something in a podcast and it starts like, it's triggering all these thoughts or something, that's what you need to write about. It might not be the gratitude list. It might not be what you're thankful for. That would be my recommendation to someone who hasn't like quite started loving it yet.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I was gonna ask if there was like a difference between venting and, processing. Actually.
I think in your journal, vent all you want, process all you want. It gets a little trickier when you're doing it to another person, whether that's like trauma dumping on them or venting to them. What's the difference between venting and gossiping? Like what should be shared with your friends and what should be saved for your therapist or something. So I like to use my journal as a first draft. So, especially when I need to have hard conversations, maybe like I don't have therapy for 5 more days and I really need to figure this one out on my own. I like to write what I'm upset about in the conflict, whether it's like a disagreement with my sister or my partner or something I'm worried about with my child. I'll write it all out in a journal. And that's where I can take a step back and be like, ooh, this part's not true. This part is true. I definitely need to talk about this. And I kind of use it as my first draft to then approach either a vent session or if I'm engaging in a conflict and I'm like, oh, this is going to start a fight, but it's worth it. Like, I kind of use my journal as a first draft for stuff like that.
All right. Wow. Okay. So yeah. At the beginning, when I was doing like an intro, I said Lefa. Is it Lefa or Lefa? I feel like I'm not saying it correctly.
It's LIFA, yeah. LIFA
Lefa.
Collective.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I didn't say.
No,
All
it's
right.
okay.
So yeah, let's talk about, let's talk about building Lefa Collective, right? So at what point did your personal healing turn into a mission to help others?
Yeah, so I've always been an open book, a chronic oversharer, and I've
Mhm.
done that a lot on social media. My career's always been in marketing, and I've always loved like digital media. And so in my free time, obviously I like do that work for my clients and my job, but on my free time, I love it. It's so fun. And so I'll kind of create posts of my own talking about like my skin, or I used to have really chronic acne. I talk about my skin a lot. I talk about body image. And then when I got divorced, it had been like a 7 year relationship in high school and in our early 20s. And so people like just divorce is tea. It's news and people are curious. They want to know. And I was public with us splitting up. I was very guarded and protected the details of it. But once I started talking about it, I would get girls in my DMs talking about their divorce, whether that was, I want to leave my long-term boyfriend, I want to leave my husband, what do I do? What's your advice? And my first advice was always like, only you know what to do. I recommend therapy and journaling. Like, let me tell you about this thing that actually helped me feel better after, professional help, like a therapist. And people are like, well, what journal do I use? And I'm like, this one about death that I literally like crossed out all the prompts for and wrote my own. And that's when I realized grief is a universal emotion. It doesn't just happen to us when someone dies. Obviously, that is such a tragic, deep loss. But so many people have like miscarriages or community violence or a breakup, or their child gets a diagnosis and they're going to live this beautiful long life, but it's nothing like the what they imagined for them. All of that loss is grief. And so I wanted to create a grief journal that anyone could use for any life transition, any like hard navigating times. And so that's where I went through my journal with all the prompts I had crossed out and wrote my own that was just for grief. I'm really flamboyant and love happy things like neon colors. And during my divorce, I always had like neon nails so that I could like be typing at work and see something happy. And so I
Mhm.
wanted this journal to like be a bright spot in people's day where they were going through such hard things, but they could see something bright and happy and know that they're even in the darkest times, there's little things that can still make your life happy and sparkly. So that is kind of the process of like conception, writing it. I got it produced and manufactured, and now it's a tool available for everyone.
All right, wow. So it's like a grief journal, right? So yeah, people could using it, I could like relate to a whole lot of things. And then the functionality, I want us to talk about like the functionality, right? So why was design and joy just as important as the functionality?
Hmm. Because grief, it is those deep losses, they're all consuming. And I know that with my limited experience in grief, I felt so alone and it got so dark sometimes. And so just having those little things like my nails, for example, where it's like something happy, um, butterflies were a big symbol for me. I wanted to create something where people obviously they're going to it every day, but when they open the pages and they see the like colors and the quotes, like all the different pages have quotes in there that can remind you like you can get through this. This will pass. It's not a forever thing. You will find joy again. You will find joy and it will like compound on your grief. Like you can have both things. I found that in my life and a lot of it was because of the community I had around me, and not everyone has that. And so if I could infuse that into this product, that just made me really happy that hopefully someone can use this and it will be like their emotional support journal.
All right, well, emotional support journal. Okay, so yeah, I feel like I've learned a whole lot, right, from our conversation already. And yeah, I want you to like, we need to know that my podcast is like for young adults who are seeking to gain clarity, right, about some certain things. So if someone feels, emotionally overwhelmed, what's one simple like self-regulation tool they can try immediately?
One of my favorite actually journaling practices is to write down everything that's overwhelming you in a list. And
Mm,
so, write down um, bills, write down someone who's making you mad, just everything that's frustrating you, and then go through and cross out everything that's out of your control. So I know when I've done this in the past and taught classes, there's been things on there like medical bills from my daughter in the hospital. There's been things like my grandma in the hospital or my dad being sad that his mom was in the hospital, arguments with my partner. Those were some of the things that were overwhelming me. My laundry, like
mm,
the household things. So
mm,
I would cross off medical bills, like those are there. I can't, like, they're just there. My
mm,
grandma in the hospital, crossing that out, there's nothing I can do about that. But my dad being upset, there's something I can do about that. I can text him and say, how can I best support you? My laundry, I can check my calendar and block out a time to do laundry. It's not fun, but it will make me feel better. So that's a quick exercise that I like to do when I'm like, everything's out of control. Let me write a list. And it's not a to-do list. Like literally, there's stuff you can't control. So cross those things off, and then what is left, try and figure out a system. Break it down into bite-sized small pieces so you can execute it with your time. And this is a great also opportunity to be accountable and be like, okay, I do have time. I've been on my phone today. I've been on social media. I do have time. Let's put the phone down for a second. Let's put away the distractions, get this stuff done that's going to make me feel better, and then we can like resume. And I promise you'll feel more in control, less overwhelmed, and have a little bit of your power back.
all right. Well, thank you so much for that one, actually. And yeah, talking about, having our power back, identity, and then like self-love, right? So you help women cultivate self-love. So what's the misconception about, self-love today?
That's such a good question. My mind is going back to our that little person inside of us, that little boy, that little girl. And I know when I think of self-love, my first thought, and I don't know if anyone can relate to this, but it's like, I'll love myself when I look like this. I'll love myself when I achieve this thing. Like it's kind of like a manifestation, like I visualize a different version of myself. And
Mm,
while I think there's a spot for that of like goal setting and wanting to grow and be the best that you can be, I think that true self-love is instead of picturing that future version of yourself, it's picturing that little person where you look at that little girl or that little boy and you just are like, what do you need right now? What can I give you? Like, do you need a hug? Do you need food? Do you need someone to make you safe? Do you
mm,
need a a bath and cancel your plans? What is that you need? And I think that doing that is so healing. And I think a lot of us are really good at looking at the future part and we're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do that in the name of self-love. But being able to just sit in silence and hold that little version of ourselves is something that we probably don't do enough. And I think the more we can do that, we'll naturally fall into those goals that we have.
mm. All right. So yeah, thank you so much, Lexi. This was heartfelt, practical, and it is the exact kind of conversation people need when, life feels heavy, actually. And I'm just moved to ask you, right? Like, what advice would you have given to your younger self, or what advice do you have to give to young adults today?
That if I could look at, I think 17-year-old Lexie, who was trying to be perfect, was trying to achieve everything that she could, and was doing an excellent job. Like, actually, she was killing it. I
Mhm.
think I would just slow her down and like grab her face, like, just like how you do like a little kid. I would grab her face and be like, you are doing so amazing. Like,
Mhm.
look at all of the things that you're doing and tell her to really like stop and appreciate what she's doing. Like, isn't this amazing? Because I wanted to just move to the next thing and achieve, 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 achieve. And when you're young and you don't have responsibilities and, like in your teenage years, you're supposed to be selfish and like
Mhm.
achieve all these things and do what's best for you. Once you kind of launch into adulthood, it's not like that anymore. You have to like figure out a balanced life and care for other people. And I think as a perfectionist, I've had a hard time like slowing down, being like, look at all the amazing stuff you're doing while holding everything that's hard too. And so just like holding her, being like, you're doing so good. Look at everything that you're balancing. Look at everything that you're achieving. This thing was hard. Slow down, like appreciate it. Like, yeah, just telling her she's doing a good job. So if you're listening, hold yourself and tell your like 12 to 17-year-old self, like, you're doing so amazing.
All right. Well, okay. I'm doing so amazing then.
Yes.
All right. So, yeah, thank you. And this brings us to the final segment of my podcast. It's called the rapid fire segment, actually. So, yeah, I just need like a one sentence answer if
Okay.
possible. All right. So,
Impossible. I'm such a talker.
no, it's fine. All right. So, starting now, uh, most misunderstood emotion.
Grief.
Hmm. Okay. A healing myth you want to break.
Healing myth I want to break. That self-care is selfish.
Hmm. Okay. All right. And a morning mindset or night reflection.
Oh, I'm gonna break the rule. This is like not so rapid fire, but lately I've been putting all of the things I want to get done in the day into AI, into ChatGPT, and saying like, this is how I want to feel today, and this is everything I need to do. Make me an agenda, and it spits out a beautiful agenda with affirmations in it.
Hmm.
Such
Okay.
a tip.
Okay. All right. Okay. And yeah, a journal prompt everyone should try.
Something I haven't said out loud is, and then you write,
All right. And yeah, finally, what is one word for your future self?
evolve.
Hmm.
Butterflies are like my symbol, and I think you're always evolving, and that's so beautiful.
All right. Thank you so much, Lexi.
Thank
This has
you.
been amazing. Thanks for sharing like guided tools you use to, navigate grief, change, and, emotional overwhelm. So yeah, where can listeners get to know more about you and what you do?
So all of the tools and products are at Lefa Collective on all handles, Lefa Collective. And then if you want to hang out with me and my crazy oversharing self, you can follow me on all handles at Lexie Faith Dopp. That's Lexie Faith Dopp, P as in Peter, P as in Peter.
Okay, all right. I would actually be following you right now after this
Oh,
call.
yay. We'll be internet besties.
Oh, I can't wait for that. Okay, so yeah, to my listeners, thanks for tuning in to Conversations with Sekani. If this episode sparked something in you, make sure to share to someone who you think might need this and also subscribe so you don't miss out on new episode. Thank you, Lexi. I'll catch you up later on should I say TikTok? Do you do TikTok?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, definitely. I'm going to TikTok right now. All right, so do have a wonderful day, Lexi.